Esther had prophecy. But many people had prophecy. The Jewish people had hundreds of prophets throughout the ages. And only about 25 are written down.
Wow.
Why? Because only the ones that had messages for future generations. Now the question is, what's the message? What message did Esther have for future generations? Now what you're looking at on the screen is a picture of an actual Megillah. The actual story of Purim. I just blew up something I want you to see. It says, Vayomer HaMelech, and the king said, LaEsther HaMalka, to Esther the queen, B'Shushan Abira, in the city of Shushan, Hargu HaYehudim, V'abed Chamesh Me'ot Ish. The Jews killed 5 Me'ot Ish, V'esa Aseres B'nei Haman, and they also killed the 10 sons of Haman. Have been killed already. Bashar Medinos Hamelech Ma'asu, I'm not even sure what they did in all the other countries, the provinces of the king. Umar Sheila Seich Esther. What else do you want? Vayomer Esther. Now, Umar Sheila Seich Matiyas, excuse me. What else do you want? I'll have it done. Vatomer Esther. 1 second. He said, what do you want? And I'll do it. Up until that point, the king always said, Ad Chatzia Malchut. I'll do anything up to half the kingdom. But not everything. Up to half the kingdom. At this point it says, the king told her, I'll do whatever you want. What does she say? Vayomer Esther, Im ala melech tov. You want to be a good king? Yinasin gam machar la Yehudim. Let the Jews tomorrow also, Asher b'Shushan, the Jews that are in Shushan la'asot kedu kedas hayom, what they did today. In other words, give us another day of battle. Let us fight our enemies in the capital the way we did in the rest of the country for one more day. As Aseres b'nei Haman Yisroel aleis, and allow us to hang the 10 sons of Haman. There's a problem if you were paying attention. They had already killed the 10 sons of Haman. The king just said something amazing. I'll do whatever you want. I'll do anything you want. He didn't even say Ad Chatzia Malchut until half. He said, whatever. And she said, give us tomorrow one more day to fight. And hang the 10 sons of Haman. What? Why are you asking to hang 10 dead men? Strange. He said they've already been killed. They were all killed by the sword. They were all stabbed simultaneously. Why are we hanging them again? They're dead. Yes, they were evil people. But why do you want to hang 10 dead men? Now, one of the things Esther said was interesting. She said, V'nasin gam machar. Let us do tomorrow. We all know. We come from a generation that when you say tomorrow, you can either mean two things. Either the day after today or in the future. Tomorrow can also mean the future. Way into the future. I want to show you something else in the Megillah. Here is the 10 sons of Haman. Pashandata, Dalfan, Aspasa, Parata, Da'adaya, Arisa, Parmashata, Arisa, Arida, Vaizasa, Aseres b'nei Haman. Something very strange in their names. I want you to look very, very closely. Look at the first name. Does everybody see the letters? Pei. The Hebrew letter Pei. Hebrew letter Resh. Hebrew letter Shin. Hebrew letter Nun. Hebrew letter Daled. Hebrew letter Tav. Hebrew letter Aleph. What's wrong with this word? What doesn't fit? you see all the letters are the same size. And then you get to the tough. What's wrong with the tough? Very, very small. The tough is very, very small. Let's go to another name. Parmashta. Pei, normal size. Resh, normal size. Mem, normal size. Shin,
Small.
not normal. Very small, right?
Yeah.
Tough Aleph. Very small shin. Very small shin.
What's shin?
Shin is a letter in the Torah. It's a Hebrew letter. But it's a very small, but here it's represented as a very small letter, and I'm trying to figure out why. Let's go to the last son. We'll go to the last son. Let's move this thing up. Vaizasa. Vav, normal size. Yud is always a small letter, so that's normal size. Zion is supposed to be just as big as the Vav. Is it?
No.
No. Tiny. Tough Aleph. So we got a small tough, small shin, small Zion. You think Esther and Mordechai were trying to tell us something, maybe? Maybe there's a code in here. Something that we didn't know. I asked a friend of mine who's a sofer, who writes Megillah. So does anybody ever discuss why those letters are always supposed to be small? He doesn't think so. He's never seen an answer until very recently. The answer that's given very, very recently, the letters Tuf, Shin, Zion, the numerical value of that is 5707. The Hebrew year, 5707.
So each letter represents
Each letter in the Hebrew alphabet has a numerical value, okay? And these three letters together add up 5707. It's a year. The Hebrew year 5707 corresponds to the English year 1946. Actually 1946-47. 1946-47. Let's see something from 1946-47. On October 1st, 1946, the International Military Tribunal at Nuremberg delivered its verdicts after 216 court sessions of the original 24 defendants. 12, including Martin Bormann, tried in absentia, were sentenced to death by hanging. The author of this account, Kingsley Smith, of the International News Service, was chosen by lot. It's very ironic, and there's no such thing as coincidence. As a believing Jew, I believe there is no such thing as coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. He was chosen by lot. The word Purim means lottery. Chosen by lot to represent the American press at the execution. The sentence was carried out Wednesday, October 16th, 1946. On Wednesday, October 16th, 1946, there were supposed to be 12 Nazi criminals who were supposed to have been hanged that day. One of them was trying to absentia, they couldn't find him, he didn't get hanged. The other one, Hermann Goering, escaped the night before. He had smuggled in poison to his jail cell and killed himself. So who was left? 10. How many sons of Haman did Esther ask the king to hang machar in the future? They were already killed. Why are you asking the king to hang 10 sons of Haman in the future? How many? 10. 10 sons of Haman. On what year? Tuf, Shin, Zion, 5707, corresponding to the Hebrew year, the English year 1946. 10 sons of Haman were killed machar, in the future. I'll tell you something else. The Medrash, which is explanations of the Torah, tell us that in the Megillah itself, the name of God is not mentioned straight out, because it's a story that looks very coincidental, and you got to look closely and understand there's no such thing as coincidence to see God in there. But there's a lot of hints to God. One of the hints are, whenever it says Melech, the word king, without naming who the king was, Achashverosh, it doesn't mean a king. It means the king. The king of all kings. It means God. So now, let's retranslate what we saw before. And the king said to Esther, "What else can I do for you?" And she said, "Let me, in the future, hang the 10 sons of Haman." When in the future? Oh, let's spell it out. Because when they wrote the 10 sons of Haman, they wrote a little tough, a little shin, a little zayin. Tough, shin, zayin. 5707, corresponding to 1946. But it's not, that doesn't make it obvious enough. Okay? I want to show how even more obvious it is. 21st day of Tishrei in 1946. October 16th, 1946, corresponding to the 21st day of Tishrei, 5707. The 21st day of Tishrei is a very special day on the Hebrew calendar, besides being my birthday. The 21st day of Tishrei is Hoshana Rabbah. Hoshana Rabbah is the last day of the Sukkot holiday before we enter Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah. Hoshana Rabbah is known as the last chance for judgment. You know how we get judged on Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur, and Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement? Hoshana Rabbah is the day when that judgment is delivered. When the judgment is carried out. What day were they hanged? The day the judgment is carried out. Hoshana Rabbah. Let me show you something. The Zohar is a book of Jewish mysticism. And it says in the Zohar, on the 7th day of Sukkot, the judgment of the nations of the world is finalized. Sentences are issued from the residence of the king. Judgments are aroused and executed on that day. What day were they hanged? October 16th, 1946. Hoshana Rabbah, the day God executes his judgment. I'm going to show you something that is now going to give you the chills. The article that I showed you before, right out of Time magazine. It goes through each one that they hanged. And all of them, they had their little speech, Heil Hitler, or whatever else they wanted to say. Peace be unto Germany, and so on. However, there was one who didn't go peacefully. His name was Julius Streicher. Julius Streicher, it says, made his melodramatic appearance at 2:12 a.m. on October 16, 1946. While his manacles were removed and his bare hands bound, this ugly, dwarfish little man, wearing a threadbare suit and well-worn bluish shirt, buttoned to the neck, but without a tie. In parentheses, he was notorious during his days of power for his flashy dress. Glanced at the 3 wooden scaffolds raising menacingly from in front of him. Then he glanced around the room, his eyes resting momentarily upon a small group of witnesses. By this time, his hands were tied securely behind his back. 2 guards, one on each arm, directed him to number 1 gallows on the left of the entrance. He walked steadily the 6 feet to the first wooden step, but his face was twitching. As the guard stopped him at the bottom of the step for identification formality, he uttered his piercing scream, "Heil Hitler!" The shriek sent shivers up my spine, said the reporter. As the echo died away, an American colonel standing by the steps said sharply, "Ask the man his name." In response to the interpreter's query, Streicher shouted, "You know my name well." The interpreter repeated his request, and the condemned man yelled, "Julius Streicher." As he reached the platform, Streicher cried out, "Now it goes to God." He was pushed the last 2 steps to the mortal spot beneath the hangman's rope, the rope being held back against a wooden rail by the hangman. Streicher was swung suddenly to face the witnesses and glared at them. And before I read the next line, I want to remind you, this was written in Time magazine. And he was swung suddenly to face the witnesses and glared at them. Suddenly he screamed, "Purim Fest! 1946. Time magazine translates his words. Purim is a Jewish holiday celebrated in the spring commemorating the execution of Haman, ancient persecutor of the Jews, described in the Old Testament. Julius Streicher said the last words out of his mouth before they hanged him was, "Guess what, everybody? We're celebrating Purim right now." No, we weren't. It was October. It wasn't Purim, it was Hoshana Rabbah. It was the last day of Sukkot before Shmini Atzeret. What are you saying, Mr. Streicher? You know, the Nazis knew Jewish holidays, and when they fell out, they used them to torture us. Every year on Purim, they used to hang 10 Jews in public. So he didn't know that it wasn't Purim? Oh, he knew. He wasn't the one doing the talking. God was talking from the mouth of that evil man. And he was telling us, guess what? We're celebrating Purim again. Because Esther asked thousands of years ago, if you want to be a good king to us, give us another opportunity, machar, in the future, to hang the 10 sons of Haman. When? Oh, I'll even spell it out. I'm not going to leave anything for chance here. Tov Shin Zion, 1946, 5707, corresponding to Hoshana Rabbah. Everything spelled out. There were 10 sons of Haman that were hanged in the time of Esther. And then there were 10 sons of Haman that were killed by hanging in the time of the Nuremberg trials. Esther predicted this, and she said to the rabbis, I have something that I'm going to tell the Jewish people. I need this holiday to be celebrated for all time. So ladies and gentlemen, this Saturday night and Sunday, we're celebrating a holiday that marks how God is involved in our lives even when we don't see it, and how everything is planned out, and Jewish survival is eternal. So I wish you all a very happy Purim, and please remember this story. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.